Hello everyone, this is part 6 of What If Naruto Was a Hitman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 12 Tails, lower level. 9 reached out and put a hand on Hinata's shoulder. You're safe now. Orochimaru is S. It stopped her screaming at least, but her face showed fear. My eyes. Her voice came out as a harsh rasp. 9 swallowed and wished Tsunade and Sei would hurry the hell up. They were removed before we rescued you. Konoha. Am I in Konoha? She asked, and 9 felt her tremor. No. As I said, you are safe. He felt her shoulders relax and he knew that her life in Konoha had been as bad as his before his time in jail. He remembered her. She was a shy, stuttering girl when he went in. He never did learn what had happened to her all those years ago, but when the job came in, he took it. He wanted to see the shy girl from his youth. Instead, he found a broken young woman. It was another reason for him to hate the village, where they would allow the abuse of a once gentle young woman. You were beyond the mists. We rescued you when we were hired by Konoha to execute Orochimaru. She was quiet for a bit, then why was I not returned to Konoha? 9 sighed. Your clan paid for us to kill you and return your body. She tensed again. But we declined. We felt it best to return you with us, and Bar-chan spent hours working on you. Whatever the serpent did, he botched it up big time, and it took a lot out of Grandma Tsunade to fix you up. Hinata brought a hand up to the bandages covering her eyes. So, I'm blind. You would have been nicer to K me. Nah. And my bud Sei will have a pair bionic eyes for you soon. She's a wizard at making anything. Heck, last year she made a techno-organic heart for a client. He could tell Hinata was frightened. He sat on the edge of her bed. My name is 9. He said. Hinata, Hyuga. She said her last name hesitantly. I give you my word, Hinata Hyuga, that you will come to no harm here. Bar-chan and Sei will be here soon and give you eyes. They will be different, but you will see again. She was very quiet, and 9 really thought about heading to Konoha and doing a bit of ventilation on several Hyuga elders with his sniper rifle. XX. Upper levels. Temari looked at the remains of her room and growled. He's getting a shotgun enema. Malloy's rockets had taken out her room along with Shizune's. Yugito's room suffered some fire damage, but was mostly intact. Temari looked at her possessions. When is 9 going to take this fair out? When Shizune asks. She's on the roof with the DJ, the show's got another hour. Gaara said. He looked on and shook his head before backing out of the room. He liked explosions, but his sister was a time bomb he wanted nothing to do with. XX. Yugito sat on the front steps, her numerous blades put away. She watched as the cops came and collected the boss, and Tsunade had been forced to file and sign several reports. The former holder of the two-tailed cat missed her demon. She had the power, but over the years they made a connection. The goggles 9 had gotten for her hung around her N. Hey. She turned to see Sei and Tsunade coming from the lab. Man, I swear you guys piss off the weirdest people. Sei said, taking note of the damage. I'll have my repair bots over in a bit. They'll convert the rubble to new material. Sei said as she made a note on a data pad. Tsunade was carrying a case. Those the eyes? Yugito asked, and she was curious. Yes, Tsunade said. After the attack and the crap with the police, she'd gone to pick Sei up. It was a block away, but better safe than sorry. You want me to add the automated defenses yet? Sei asked. No, our luck they would target a kid bouncing a ball off the building and turn to mulch. Tsunade appreciated the tech, she really did, but the armaments that Sei wanted to add to the building was something seen on battleships or Fort Knox. Let's see the patient, Sei said, and entered the building. Tsunade looked at Yugito. You okay? Yes, Bar-chan. Just thinking. Tsunade looked at her a moment, then entered. Yugito sighed. It was a talk she knew was coming, but was happy to wait for. XX. 9 sat on the couch, ignoring the stench of smoke on it from the fire. Damn Gaara and his explosives. The whisker-marked blonde thought. He'd been kicked out of the med center, Hinata was going to be put back under for the procedure and would be asleep until tomorrow to give the nanoprobes a chance to do their work. See Shizune. Tsunade had ordered before slamming the door in his face. She's got a job for you. He went to find Shizune, but saw she was with her client and he came back to the office and was stretched out on the couch. He opened his eyes to see Yugito upside down looking at him. What? When are you going to chose? 9 sighed. Do we have to do this now? Yes, Yugito said. Temari, me or the girl? 9 smirked. You didn't add say, he said. Yugito hissed. You horny fox. 9 sighed. Why do I have to chose? Yugito remained quiet for several minutes, just making eye contact with him. There you are. Both Jinchuriki looked to see Shizune coming down the stairs. Where's your friend? 9 asked. Finishing her show. 9. I need you for a job. The blonde sat up, avoiding banging heads with Yugito. You want me to K the idiot that attacked us? Yes, Shizune said. Anita's paid for the protection, but, Shizune began, but 9 held up a hand. I'll do it. Shizune blinked. He blew up our home. 9 said, gesturing to the damage. Although Gaara and Temari did a number as well. He gestured to the door which was leaning in the frame. 9 stood, get the details, I'll be ready in 10. He went to his room which was on the far side and well away from all of the damage. Yugito went to her room as well. Shizune wondered what she had just interrupted. XX. Malloy Mansion. 9 dressed in black, his hair covered by a bandana looked at the walls and the guards. To his left Yugito was dressed similar, her various bladed weapons hidden on her body. Should have brought Gaara. 9 muttered. Yugito made a growling sound. Hush. Nothing against you, but this guy's got security walls and laser-targeted turrets. I bet he's got state-of-the-art sensors and computers. So it won't be a simple shoot and walk? Yugito asked. No. 9 said, slipping his sniper rifle into its case and passing it to her. Stow it on the bike. She watched as he dropped from the tree he'd been using and loosened his long coat. He not only had his handguns, but she smirked at seeing the curved knives she'd given him, the ones with the spike-covered guards. How are we doing this then? She asked, loosening her sword across her back. 9 knelt and she knelt next to him as he drew in the dirt. We slip over the wall, here. We K as many guards as quietly as we can. Once we're made wheel, I'll use guns. Malloy is the target, either you get him or I will. She pulled out her knives and grinned. Want to play our favorite game? She purred. Who's the better cur? Yugito invaded his personal space, he had an inch on her and she got really close. Winner gets to pick what they want. A blonde eyebrow raised at that. And what is it you want, kitten? Yugito smiled as she pulled her goggles up and licked his chin. Wait and see, Foxy, wait and see. XX. The pair managed to make it over the wall, and to the back door, 6 guards each, and they shook their heads. Bad guys, just don't try anymore. Yugito pouted. 9 shook his head. The former Jinchuriki of the two-tailed cat demon loved blades, and it was with this purpose in mind that 9 let her be the first in the door. The pair stopped, however, seeing 2 figures step from the shadows. Ninja. Naruto thought as he saw the headbands. He growled. A little far from home, boys. He said. Both were Iwanin with slashed headbands. The amount of money on your head makes the journey worth it. The one on the left said. But the son of the yellow flash makes it doubly so. The second said. Poor intel. 9 said and drew his guns. 2. I want the one on the left. He smells of fear. Yugito said. Have at it. All hell broke loose, and in the upstairs panic room, Victor Malloy looked at the monitors in fear. X. Malloy Mansion. Oh. Look, 2 fish far from home. Yugito hissed, her blades lazily moving before her as she crouched. 9 shook his head, his Colts in his hands. Funny, all I see is a pair of cheap corpses. The 2 ninja didn't get to move as one was riddled with bullets as 9's Colts dropped him after sending him flying back several feet. The other one started speeding his hand signs for a jutsu, but found his hands pinned together by a knife. He would have screamed for sure, but a second blade was buried to the hilt through the bottom of his jaw up to his brain, killing him instantly. Emariao, you think we should have given him a chance? Yugito asked, looking at 9 as he scanned the hall. They're ninja, he said as if that answered everything. Yugito shrugged. She had to agree with her fellow Jinchuriki after the way their lives had been. Neither had much love for anyone from the hidden elemental nations. Split up and find Malloy. 9 said. Right, we can do more damage that way. Yugito said and looked to find the blonde gone. I hate when he does that. She muttered with a low hiss before checking room by room king anyone she came across. On the second floor the sound of Nine's Colts told her he was encountering resistance. Like Gaara's favorite show, and those strange alien creatures. Resistance is futile. She thought as she slashed the end open of a rather beefy-looking guard coming out of the toilet and the look of surprise on his face as his tea was cut and he fell back into the bathroom. First you say it then you do it. Yugito muttered as the smell came from the room and she cursed her enhanced sense of smell. XX. Panic room. Victor Malloy watched the bank of monitors as the pair of blondes were cutting his men to shred and the ninja had been totally useless, not even slowing them down at all. What the hell are they? He demanded as he watched the woman on the first floor take out his guards and staff, not sparing anyone. The other monitor showed the whisker-marked blonde shooting his second floor to shreds. He seemed to be inhuman as he avoided machine gun fire as if he was from the Keanu Reeves sci-fi movie. What the hell did that bee say? XX. 12 Tails Agency. Are you sure they'll be alright? Anita asked as Sei was taking apart the radio equipment now that the show was over. 9. Yeah, he's the best at what he does. The tech said with a smile. And what is it he does exactly? Anita asked looking at Shizune. Everything from bodyguard to babysitter and assassination. I believe Malloy won't see the sunrise. She said to the city-famous radio woman. I'll have Gaara bring the heavy stuff down later. Sei said rising and heading for the door. She stopped. Oh. Lady Sunid said to keep her out of the lower levels. The patient is showing signs of waking up quicker than we thought, and the implants look to be fine so far. Shizune blinked at this. I thought. She shook her head. All right, thanks, she said and watched as the techno genius left. She's a nice girl, Anita said. Shizune nodded and looked at the woman who rose from the chair and came closer. Speaking of nice girls, the radio jockey said, and Shizune found her eyes on the other woman's hips that took on an almost hypnotic swish as she came closer. Shizune found the lump in her tea was bobbing in time with the motion. Her chocolate eyes looked up and saw Anita was smiling at her. She know. Oh Kami, she's going to. Whatever Shizune was thinking was cut off as Anita leaned over and kissed her on the lips. Time seemed to freeze as Shizune's world seemed to become full of colors and sounds that had nothing to do with what was happening. When Anita pulled back, Shizune could only come up with one word. Wow. Anita smiled. So, does that mean you'll go out with me tomorrow night? XX. Sunid looked at the girl who was twitching every so often. The surgery had been a success and thus far there was no sign of rejection of the implants. She was aware that they still might not work once the girl awoke. Sei had been very specific that ocular implants were cutting edge, decades away from even being attempted. That girl is scary brilliant. One of these days Nine will have to tell me where he found her. The blonde thought. The door opened and Gaara stepped in. What is her condition? The redhead asked. So far so good, Sunid said. She knew he was checking for Nine's benefit. We won't know if the implants will actually work for her until she's awakened. Gaara made a grunt sound. Say madam, they will work. Sunid had to admit, thus far the genius hadn't failed them, but this was a medical situation, more difficult than the heart she made and the bionic legs and arms she made for clients. This was concerning something in the head where millions of things could go wrong. I hope you're right, Sunid said in a low voice. I'd hate to see Nine's reaction if this fails. Gaara was silent, but she knew he agreed with her, or that's what she chose to believe. XX. Malloy Mansion. Nine was sitting on the steps smoking one of those clover cigarettes when Yugito found him. Mariel, no sign of the bastard, she said sitting next to her fellow blonde. Nine grunted. Top floors are clear as well, he said letting a puff of smoke out. The two shared a look. Basement, Yugito suggested. Basement, Nine said. They stood to get to the panic room, taking their time now that the entire household was wiped out. So, did you see that new Tomb Raider movie? Yugito asked with a grin. No. XX. Panic room. Victor Malloy was terrified. Two people had wiped out over 100 guards as well as staff, and the two ninja he'd hired hadn't even managed to put up a fight. Useless, he said as he saw the two now looking for the way down. They'll never find the elevator. Its height, he blinked when they found it and managed to open it without a key. No, that's not possible. He grabbed a cell phone and swore as it showed he couldn't get a signal in the panic room. He threw it aside where it slammed into the wall and shattered. He never put in the landline, assured that no one would really attack him and he'd never need this room. He saw the monitors as the pair rode the elevator down. He went to the computer and saw that the rest of the systems were down. He had no help and no defenses. He looked at the walls and smirked. 4 feet of steel. They'll never get me, he said, assured that nothing they had would cut through the steel barriers around him. He watched the cameras and saw the pair looking right at the camera. The male mouthed, "S-man walking," while the woman grinned and licked the edge of one of the knives she was twirling in her hand. No, Victor Malloy said, shaking his head as they left the elevator and walked the narrow corridor. Only no, Malloy realized he should have put in the auto turrets and hired several guards for there. The pair walked the corridor as if they were ghosts. He also grated that he didn't have mics hidden there so he could hear what was happening out there. XX. You have to admit Angelina Jolie is smoking hot. Yugito purred. 9 shook his head. She is good looking, but... Yugito smirked. You mean you wouldn't want to kiss those pouty lips? 9 shook his head and missed the look on Yugito's lips. She spun around before him, her hands behind her back. So, would you like to kiss my pouty lips? She asked. 9 blinked. You're doing this now. Yugito purred at him. He blinked again. Please tell me you're not in heat. Yugito smiled. You didn't complain last time. 9 sighed. I thought you and Gara. We do, sometimes when the urges hit, but you have been acting as a monk for too long and torturing yourself. 9 sighed. Let's K this Malloy and then we'll talk. I want more than talking. Remember, you have several women interested in you. And if I smelled things right, you are also interested in the Hyuga we rescued. 9 didn't say anything as he continued to walk, forcing Yugito to walk backwards. You have to choose, she told him. Me, say, Temari or the Hyuga. He growled and stepped around her, his eyes landed on the door. Poor Victor Malloy was going to be on the receiving end of 9's aggravation and frustrations. XX. Victor Malloy smirked as the pair were on the other side of the seamless wall. Ha. There is no way you're getting in here, he said. His glee turned to shock as the blonde male stepped back and made his hand like a claw. Soon a blue orb formed in it. What the hell? The blonde slammed the orb into the steel and Malloy watched as it began to twist. He looked from the monitor to the wall and saw the steel was buckling quickly. A moment later it exploded and 2 figures entered. Where the hell did you learn that? The female demanded, and Malloy was wondering the same thing. Ero-sanin last time he stopped by to bother Bar-chan. The male said. I thought you weren't learning any ninja techniques after the S they pulled. The female said. Malloy was sweating. The B hired ninja who use guns. Maybe I can bribe them. Malloy thought with a hit of desperation. He was opening his mouth to offer his first bribe when his brains exploded out the back of his head and his body backflipped over the desk as it was hit by a bullet from the modified Colt and a wicked-looking knife at the same time. 9 looked at Yugito. Not once had he looked at the target he had shot. Ero-sanin said, it was something my father created. He's teaching me another one. Kai. Kyubi suggested I learn him to keep me alive. Like that Cage Bunshin, right? Yugito asked. 9 didn't have many jutsus, but the ones he did have he was a master of. Yeah. And your aim was off. Yugito looked, made a hissing sound and walked over to the body of Victor Malloy. She rolled it over and pulled the throwing knife from the man's heart. I didn't miss. I hit the heart. You should have planted it in his head next to my bullet. 9 walked over and opened the desk. Yugito gave a low whistle. Looks like Shizun's wet dream just became a millionaire. 9 shook his head. Images I really don't need in my crowded, perverted mind. You said it, Yugito said. 9 found jewels and took those. At his partner's look he sighed. What? It's a bonus. He's not gonna need it where he's gone. Yugito pushed the body aside and started raiding the computer files. Transfer ownership of the radio station to Bar-chan. 9 said as Yugito worked. Get everything else for Sei to look over. Yugito nodded. I know my job. 9 bagged the cash and pulled out a cell phone. He hit a preset number. Job's done. She's safe. He listened, then blinked to whomever he was speaking to. Right. He closed it with a snap. You owe me and Gara $50. Shizune's got a date tonight. Yugito blinked. Damn. I thought it would have taken a week. 12 Tails Agency. The jingle of the bell sounded as someone entered the front door. Tsunade Senju was asleep on the couch off to the side while a young woman with blue hair and a pair of sunglasses sat at the desk. Hello, the young man said as he stopped before the desk. This is 12 Tails Agency, correct? The dimness of the room didn't require sunglasses, but the young woman kept them on. Yes, how may we help you? She said. Her voice was low, sultry. She had aristocratic features and her hair was well past the small of her back that he could see it was a deep majestic blue that bordered on near black. I need to speak with someone who deals with. I will conduct the interview and determine who you need, sir. She said. The man narrowed his eyes. I'd prefer to speak with Hinata, Tsunade said from the couch. Yes, Lady Tsunade. The now identified Hinata inquired. If he refuses to speak with you, you have permission to throw him out. Tsunade said with a growl. Her forearm was covering her own eyes. Yes, Lady Tsunade, Hinata said. Her sunglass-covered eyes turned towards the man. Will you speak with me, or will you be thrown out for wasting time? I just want to speak with one of your experts before I make a decision. The man protested. Hinata stood with the grace of a jungle cat and the man found himself by the curb, his body numb before he could blink. Back inside, Hinata was sitting at the desk once more, her hands busy with sorting various files. That was very well done, Hinata. Tsunade said. How are your eyes? They itch still, and everything is in black and white. Hinata said. Well, don't use any chakra with them for the week. I don't want to mess up the connections too soon. Hinata nodded. She'd been awake for 2 days and had inserted herself into the day-to-day workings of the agency as if she'd always been there. Tsunade sat up and gave a yawn, and as she stretched. Have the others called in yet? Not yet, Lady Tsunade, Hinata said, bowing her head down slightly. Say still setting up her new lab? Tsunade asked. Yes. Hinata liked the tech girl. She'd been the first one other than Tsunade that she saw once she woke up. Hinata still blushed around Gara and 9. Hinata had recognized him the moment she saw him in black and white, but he told her in an even voice that he was 9 now, Naruto Uzumaki SD in prison. Hinata did not like how Yugito and Temari acted towards the whisker-marked Hitman, but Hinata knew it had been some time since the academy and she would take the time to get to know him as he was now, but she would still see flashes of Naruto in the man he was now. Shizune back from her date? Tsunade asked. She's upstairs, Hinata said with a blush as she'd seen the kiss Shizune had gotten from their former client Anita, Amanda Walker, who had the radio show The Midnight Run that played here nightly. 9 called the woman Double A and teased Shizune with the air of a younger brother picking on an older sibling. You can finish that up later. Let's go for a walk, Tsunade said. Hinata was still nervous in this new place, but Sei's language chip made understanding and speaking languages easier. Hinata, however, flinched, and Tsunade knew the girl must have been abused by her clan for her to be so timid at times. Of course, 9, Gara and Yugito have been working on that as well. I pity any Hyuga we meet in the future, the blonde thought. While she didn't really pity them, she knew that the 3 had an instant liking to Hinata, and Tsunade knew that any harsh words or raised hands would be met by bombs, blades and bullets. So, how are you really feeling? She asked Hinata. And as your doctor, I expect the truth. Don't give me 9's answer of fine. Hinata smiled a bit. She remembered 9 coming back the other day from an assignment looking like he'd been blown up and told Tsunade he was fine, but it took several hours of his healing factor to clear him fully. I still feel heavy, Hinata said. The bonding Orochimaru did to your bones. Your own healing factor is nearly as good as 9's, but I don't want you to push yourself yet. The blades that had popped out her fingertips had scared her badly, but they retracted and her fingers looked unmarked. 9 said she was a Hyuga with teeth and said he'd spar with her later once Tsunade cleared her for more than desk duty. Do you really think that I will be able to join the others? Hinata asked. Tsunade gave her a smirk. Only if you really want to. I won't lie to you. We K people, we do pick our jobs carefully, but what we do in the big game isn't nice. Tsunade said. Why will we take missions in the elemental nations? Hinata asked. Tsunade shrugged. Sometimes. Don't feel bad. None of us like the place anymore. 9 and the others and you as well have a huge reason to hate the place. My own losses have jaded my opinion and Shizune, well, she cares for us too much to leave. Lady Tsunade, I want to help them. Hinata had a slight blush and Tsunade could have been blind and saw it. She smiled. You'll need training. You'll need to know how to use firearms as well as what weapons work well with you. Tsunade frowned as she thought of her own misadventures. Yugito prefers to use blades, but she has a pair of silences strapped to her back. 9 well his favorite are a pair of Colts he modified as well as his sniper rifle. Tsunade remembered the damage the blonde could do with that as well as the caster shells he made and shared with no one. And Gaara? Hinata asked as they walked. Gaara likes explosions. I think it's a holdover from when he held the one-tailed Shukaku. But Gaara has a several double-barrel Dillingers. Tsunade remembered when the boy opened his jacket the last time she counted at least 20 of the little guns. And Temari-san. Tsunade smirked. She likes her shotguns. She also has her skills as a ninja and carries a pair of bladed fans with her. Hinata was thinking. And Shizune. Here Lady Tsunade laughed. Shizune loves the rocket launcher. She keeps it in a scroll as well as numerous rounds. She's got a few pistols as well her own skills from our time as a ninja. Tsunade knew it was coming and answered. The others really don't trust me with a firearm, as 9 will tell you the best place to be when I have one is several yards behind me behind concrete. They passed a vendor and nodded but declined the hot dogs he was selling. They continued their walk. I would like to learn to be the team's field medic. Hinata admitted. I was learning to be one on my own before I was KPED. Tsunade smiled. Great. I think I can also suggest the proper weapons for someone like you. Hinata held up her hand. I have claws. Tsunade smiled. That you do. But let's give you something for distance as well. Medics aren't to be the front line of our operations. Hinata walked with Tsunade and thought about her time with 12 Tails and where it would take her. Tsunade saw a nun sitting on the steps of 12 Tails and frowned as she recognized her. The slug Sanan said. Hey Mama Big T. The nun said and Tsunade felt her fist clench. XX. Elsewhere. Kabi 0000M. 9 looked around the wall then across where Gaara was crouched with a huge grin on his face. You used too much. The redhead gave him a look. They're S. But I wanted to K the one that insulted. 9 began but Yugito put herself between them in the hall. Mariao. Behave boys. I'm sure some of the worms are still breathing. Yugito said as she pulled her curved knives. She licked her lips. Not if I can help it. Gaara growled opening the tubes on his back and unleashing his sand. It swirled around his feet then surrounded him like a pet snake. 9 scowled and loaded several rounds into his sniper rifle. I hate gangs. They decrease the value of the neighborhood and make it difficult for good folk to live quietly. The pair watched as the blonde took up a position and sighted. You can't see them through all that smoke. Yugito said. 9 remained quiet as he made adjustments then bit his finger and rubbed it on a seal. Oh crap. Yugito hissed and Naruto fired. The blast that came from the end of the barrel wasn't one you would see normally. It was an inferno and it got bigger the further it traveled. Screams from the other end of the corridor told them that the shots had hit. 9 fired twice more, both blasts of fire got results. Yugito watched as 9 shouldered his rifle and drew his modified Colts. Lass first. She smirked and practically skipped down the corridor into the warehouse the gang formerly known as the Thrillers had been. Yugito looked around. Between his bombs and your blasting, there's nothing here for me to K. She pouted. Next time kitty. Gaara said as they systematically walked around and put a bullet into each corpse's head. Yugito counted the boss. Guys, we're too short. 9 lifted his Colt and without looking fired into a section of the wall. A moment later the panel fell open and 2 boss staggered out and fell to the ground. Now we're not, he said. Yugito shook her head. I hate when you do that. 9 smirked. Call the client, tell them the neighborhood is theirs again. He walked away. Something is bothering him. Gaara said. Yugito nodded. She noticed the difference as soon as the Hyuga girl woke up. Her cell phone rang. 2 here. Get your butts back to the office. Hello Bar-chan, enjoy your nap. Yugito said. No time for your S. We've got a big job. We're going to Roanapur. Yugito froze. No. Yes. Not get your asses here. We have to plan. Tsunade ordered and hung up without further word. What is it? Gaara asked. We're going to Roanapur, Yugito said. Gaara grinned. Nine turned around at this and even he had a smile on his face. Yugito sighed. I hate that thing town. To be continued. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.